Welcome to this sleep story, a gentle invitation to let go of the day's worries and drift into restful slumber. There's no need to stay awake to hear it all. I'd be honored if you fell asleep before the end. But if you do, you can always return another day to pick up where you left off. For now, simply relax, get comfortable, and let this story guide you softly into a peaceful night's rest. The city of Noctura used to hum with life. By day, its streets bustled with cheerful chatter and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. By night, soft golden lights twinkled in windows as its people drifted into peaceful dreams. But lately, something had changed. Noctura was restless. Neon signs buzzed louder than usual. Car alarms wailed without reason, and the once serene streets echoed with the sound of weary footsteps. Inside their homes, residents tossed and turned, unable to find the sweet relief of sleep. The city was trapped in a fog of sleeplessness, and the toll was evident. And that's where Dreamweaver came in. She wasn't your average superhero. No capes, no flashy battles. Instead, she was a calm presence, her shimmering star-speckled cloak flowing like a gentle breeze. Her powers weren't about brute force. They were about harmony, weaving threads of tranquility into the very fabric of the night. Dreamweaver stepped into Noctura's main square, her soft boots making no sound on the cobblestones. She looked around, her sharp eyes taking in the drooping shoulders and hollow gazes of the people passing by. "Looks like Insomniac has been busy," she murmured, her voice as soothing as the first notes of a lullaby. Behind her, there was a loud crash, followed by an apologetic yelp. Dreamweaver sighed and turned to find Dozer, her bumbling sidekick, sprawled on the ground. He had tripped over his own bag of gadgets, a lumpy sack full of devices with names like the Snooze-O-Matic and the Dream Beam. "Dozer," Dreamweaver said with a small smile, extending a hand to help him up. "I thought I told you to pack light." "I did. This is light," Dozer replied, brushing dust off his shirt. His messy hair stuck out at odd angles, giving him the look of someone who might fall asleep at any moment, which, to be fair, he often did. Dreamweaver shook her head fondly. "Come on, partner. Noctura needs us." As the duo headed deeper into the city, the weight of Insomniac's influence became clearer. The air felt heavy with unease, and a strange, swirling fog lingered at the edges of the streets. Dreamweaver felt the familiar prickle of urgency. "Dozer," she said, her tone serious now. "This fog, it's not natural. Insomniac's behind it. Let's find out what's going on before it spreads further." "Got it," Dozer said enthusiastically, only to trip again as he scrambled to keep up. And so, with determination in her heart and a slightly clumsy sidekick at her side, Dreamweaver began her mission to bring peace back to Noctura. The restless city. Dreamweaver and Dozer moved through Noctura's dimly lit streets, the fog curling around their ankles like a living thing. The city, once vibrant and alive, felt eerily subdued. Lights flickered in apartment windows and muffled arguments spilled out onto the sidewalks, tensions rising among the sleep-deprived. "Dreamweaver?" Dozer asked hesitantly as they walked. "Why do you think Insomniac's doing this? I mean, what's the point of making everyone miserable and tired?" Dreamweaver paused, her silver-threaded cloak shimmering faintly in the moonlight. "Insomniac feeds off chaos," she explained. "The more restless people are, the stronger Insomniac becomes. It's a cycle. Sleeplessness breeds anxiety, anxiety breeds chaos, and chaos gives Insomniac power." Dozer nodded thoughtfully, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Right, so no pressure or anything, but if we mess this up, the whole city stays like this forever." "Pretty much." Cool, Dozer muttered, tripping over a discarded soda can. "No pressure." They reached the main square, where a group of residents had gathered around a flickering lamppost. Their faces were pale and drawn, their voices low and filled with desperation. "It started last week," one woman said, wringing her hands. "Every night this noise, like whispers, just loud enough to keep you awake." And the dreams, another man added, his eyes wide with exhaustion. Or the lack of them. I haven't had a proper dream in days. It's like my mind is blank every time I close my eyes. Dreamweaver nodded, her expression grave. That's Insomniac's signature, she said. Whispers to keep you from drifting off, and stolen dreams to leave you unrested. The crowd murmured anxiously, but Dreamweaver raised a hand, her calm presence quieting them. Don't worry, she said gently. We're here to help. We'll find the source of the whispers and put a stop to them. As she turned to leave, Dozer reached into his bag and pulled out a bulky contraption that looked like a cross between a fan and a music box. Wait, before we go, let me set this up. What is it this time? Dreamweaver asked, eyeing the device skeptically. The Snooze-O-Matic, Dozer announced proudly. It plays calming sounds to help people relax. Watch. He pressed a button and the machine sputtered to life. For a brief moment, a soft, melodic hum filled the air and the crowd began to relax. Then, with a loud pop, the machine emitted a high-pitched squeal, followed by an eruption of glitter and confetti. The crowd winced, clutching their ears. Oops, Dozer said sheepishly, trying to shut the machine off as it began to vibrate uncontrollably. Hang on, I've got this. Dreamweaver placed a hand on his shoulder, a small smile tugging at her lips. Dozer, maybe save the gadgets for later. Right, good call. He stuffed the sputtering device back into his bag, glitter still clinging to his hair. As they moved on, the fog seemed to thicken, and Dreamweaver felt the prickle of unease growing stronger. The whispers are coming from the outskirts, she said, her voice steady. That's where we'll find our first clue. Dozer gulped, but followed her without hesitation. Together they ventured toward the edge of the city, where the fog twisted like a living thing, carrying with it the faint, eerie sound of restless whispers. Dozer's first mishap. The further they walked, the denser the fog became, curling around street signs and lampposts like ghostly fingers. The whispers grew louder, an unsettling blend of unintelligible murmurs and faint, mocking laughter. Dozer shivered. Creepy. Definitely creepy. You know, maybe the whispers are just like air currents? Or a prank? Please tell me it's a prank. Dreamweaver didn't answer. Her focus was on the threads of the fog, her hands weaving gentle patterns in the air. Strands of silver light emerged from her fingertips, dancing through the mist like fireflies. Insomniac's energy, she murmured, her brow furrowing. This fog isn't natural. It's been infused with restless thoughts. That's why it's affecting the city. Well, if anyone can fix it, it's you, Dozer said, trying to sound optimistic. And if you can't, I've got gadgets. He fumbled in his bag and pulled out a pair of strange, oversized goggles. Dreamweaver gave him a sidelong glance. What are those supposed to do? They're Dreamcatcher goggles, Dozer said proudly. I rigged them to detect restless energy. Watch. He slid the goggles over his eyes and immediately stumbled backward, nearly toppling over. Whoa! Everything's glowing. Dreamweaver raised an eyebrow. Glowing how? Like when you open the fridge at night and the light is way too bright, Dozer said, spinning in circles. It's everywhere. Before she could respond, he tripped over a rock and landed in a heap on the ground. The goggles flew off his head and skidded into a puddle. Are you all right? Dreamweaver asked, suppressing a smile as she helped him up. Yeah, Dozer said, brushing himself off. But the goggles are toast. Note to self, make them less slippery next time. Dreamweaver shook her head fondly. Dozer, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but let's focus on the whispers for now. The sound grew louder as they approached an abandoned park at the city's edge. The playground equipment, once lively with the laughter of children, now stood eerily still. Swings creaked in the wind, and the fog pooled thickly around the jungle gym. This is definitely the source, Dreamweaver said, her voice low. Stay close, Dozer. Close. Got it. Right behind you, he said, though his voice wavered slightly. Dreamweaver extended her hands, weaving her silver threads into a shimmering net. As the threads spread out, the whispers began to shift, their chaotic energy dimming into faint melodic hums. Suddenly, the fog surged and a shadowy figure emerged from its depths. A creature formed entirely of swirling mist, its hollow eyes glowing faintly. Dozer yelped and ducked behind Dreamweaver. "Ah, that doesn't look friendly." The mist creature lunged, but Dreamweaver stood firm, her silver threads wrapping around it like a spider's web. "It's just a fragment of Insomniac's energy," she said calmly. "Nothing we can't handle." The creature struggled against the threads, its form flickering and distorting. "You'll never stop us," it hissed, its voice a discordant blend of whispers. "The city will never rest again." "Wrong," Dreamweaver said firmly. With a final wave of her hands, the threads tightened, and the creature dissolved into a harmless puff of mist. "Whoa," Dozer said, peeking out from behind her. "That was awesome, and also terrifying, but mostly awesome." Dreamweaver allowed herself a small smile. "We're getting closer. Insomniac's influence is strongest here, but it's not the source. We need to keep moving." "Right," Dozer said, nodding vigorously. "Just let me know if more shadowy fog monsters show up, okay? I'd like to not scream next time." Dreamweaver chuckled softly as they continued into the thickening fog, the whispers fading behind them. The whispering fog. The fog grew heavier with every step, clinging to Dreamweaver's cloak and muffling the sound of their footsteps. Dozer trailed close behind, his eyes darting nervously between the shadowy outlines of trees and benches that loomed in the eerie gloom. "You know," Dozer said, trying to sound casual, "I was thinking, maybe this is a good time for another one of my gadgets." Dreamweaver sighed, but kept her focus ahead. "Dozer, your gadgets are impressive, but—" Wait, hear me out," he interrupted, rummaging through his bag. "I've been saving this one for a special occasion. It's called the Dream Decipherer. It's still in beta, but I'm pretty sure it works." Dreamweaver paused, turning to look at him. "What does it do?" "It translates weird noises into, regular talk," Dozer explained, pulling out a small handheld device with blinking lights and several mismatched buttons. "So, if those creepy whispers are saying anything important, this baby will let us know." Dreamweaver tilted her head, considering. "All right," she said finally, "but let's test it first. No surprises this time." Dozer grinned and pressed a button. The device whirred to life, its lights blinking erratically. A faint crackling sound emerged, followed by what sounded like a robotic voice saying, "Searching, searching, searching." Then suddenly the whispers in the fog grew louder, and the device's voice shifted. "Lost, alone, restless, forever." Dozer froze, clutching the device tightly. Okay, that's creepy." Dreamweaver stepped closer, her expression calm but serious. "It's just an echo of the city's unrest. Insomniac's influence is amplifying it, but it's not real." The device continued to hum and crackle. "Find the heart of the fog." Dreamweaver's eyes narrowed. "The heart of the fog," she repeated. "Dozer, that's a clue. Keep it running." Dozer nodded, though his hands were shaking slightly. "Got it, but let's not stick around too long, okay? This place gives me the heebie-jeebies." They pressed onward, the whispers growing more coherent as they followed the device's guidance. "Dreamweaver," the whispers hissed, weaving into a chorus of dissonant voices. "You cannot stop us. Noctura will never dream again." Dreamweaver stopped abruptly, her hands glowing faintly as she began weaving her silver threads in the air. "Insomniac knows we're here," she said quietly. "Stay close, Dozer." "Closer?" "Got it," Dozer said, practically glued to her side. The fog swirled violently, and another figure emerged, a tall, shadowy silhouette with piercing eyes that seemed to glow with malice. Unlike the earlier mist creature, this one exuded a palpable sense of dread. "You're meddling where you don't belong," the figure intoned, its voice a low, rumbling growl. Dreamweaver stood her ground, her threads forming a protective barrier between them. "I don't belong?" she said, her voice calm but firm. Noctura's peace is my responsibility, and I won't let you take it away. The figure chuckled darkly. You think your little lights can stop the inevitable? It sneered. The fog is spreading, Dreamweaver. You're too late. With a sudden burst of energy, the figure lunged, its shadowy form crashing against Dreamweaver's threads. The air crackled with tension as the two forces clashed, light against darkness. Dozer, Dreamweaver called over her shoulder, her voice steady despite the strain. The device, use it to find the heart of the fog. On it, Dozer said, frantically fiddling with the buttons. The device whirred and beeped, its lights blinking faster. Directly ahead, the robotic voice announced. Source detected. Dreamweaver pushed back against the shadowy figure with a final surge of energy, her threads binding it tightly. Go, Dozer, she urged. I'll hold it off. Dozer hesitated for a moment, but the determination in her voice spurred him into action. Clutching the device, he sprinted through the fog, his heart pounding. The whispers grew louder and more chaotic as he neared the source, a swirling vortex of mist at the base of a massive, gnarled tree. The tree's roots seemed to pulse with an eerie light, and the fog emanated from its core. Okay, Dozer, he muttered to himself, trying to steady his shaking hands. You've got this. Just don't mess up. He pulled out another gadget from his bag, a compact silver sphere he had dubbed the Calm Bomb. Designed to emit a wave of tranquil energy, it was theoretically capable of neutralizing Insomniac's influence. Theoretically. Here goes nothing, he said, pressing the activation button and tossing the sphere into the vortex. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft whoosh, the sphere released a wave of shimmering light, washing over the tree and the surrounding fog. The whispers faltered, then faded entirely. Back in the clearing, Dreamweaver felt the tension in the air lift. The shadowy figure let out a roar of frustration before dissolving into the mist. Dozer stumbled back to her, panting but grinning triumphantly. I did it, he exclaimed. The Calm Bomb worked. Dreamweaver gave him a rare, warm smile. Good job, Dozer. You might just save the city yet. As the fog began to clear, Dreamweaver and Dozer exchanged a glance. They both knew this was just the beginning of their battle against Insomniac. The first confrontation with Insomniac. The fog began to thin, but the city was still far from peaceful. A subtle unease lingered in the air, like a melody that was almost forgotten but still faintly humming in the background. Dreamweaver and Dozer stood in the clearing, catching their breath after the intense confrontation. That was, well, it wasn't boring, Dozer said, wiping sweat from his brow. I thought that shadow guy was going to squash us like a bug. Dreamweaver didn't respond right away. She was looking up at the gnarled tree, now bathed in soft light, its twisted branches still curled as though they were reaching for something. The air felt quieter, but the tension in her chest remained. That wasn't Insomniac, she said quietly, almost to herself. What? Dozer blinked. But that big fog creature said. Dreamweaver shook her head. That was a lesser manifestation, just a fragment of Insomniac's power. But the true threat, it's still out there. Great. So we've got to deal with the real Insomniac now? Dozer sighed dramatically. I was hoping we could just sit down with tea and talk it out. Don't tempt fate, Dreamweaver said with a small smile, though her gaze remained serious. We're about to face the heart of this nightmare. As they continued through the city, the streets were now eerily quiet, the sounds of daily life replaced by a strange stillness. Shops were shuttered, lights flickering like stars dimming in the distance. It was as if the city itself had been drained of its energy. This is more than just an influence, Dreamweaver murmured. Insomniac is feeding on the city's unrest. It's a cycle, people's sleeplessness fuels him and he spreads more insomnia. Like a terrible feedback loop? Dozer asked. Exactly. She looked at him, her brow furrowing. That's why we can't just fix it with gadgets or quick fixes. We need to confront Insomniac at his source. Uh-huh. So, no more calm bombs? Dozer asked, half joking. No more calm bombs. Dreamweaver gave him a knowing look. They reached the heart of the city, where the streets curved around an imposing building, the old town hall. It had once been a place of bustling activity, but now its grand stone doors were ajar, a faint, unnatural light spilling out into the empty streets. Dreamweaver stopped at the entrance. This is it. This is where Insomniac is hiding. Are you sure? Dozer whispered, glancing nervously around. It feels off, like the kind of place you find in a nightmare. One of those ones where the floor is lava or you can't move. Quiet, Dreamweaver said, her voice urgent. We're not alone. As if on cue, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and the air grew heavier. Shadows seemed to twist and elongate, converging toward the town hall like dark tendrils reaching for something. Insomniac's influence, Dreamweaver said, her voice steady despite the growing pressure around them. He's trying to keep us out. The doors of the town hall swung open on their own, revealing a vast, shadow-filled chamber. At the far end stood a throne, and upon it, a figure cloaked in dark mist sat watching them. So you've made it this far, the figure's voice boomed, and the very walls of the hall seemed to vibrate with its power. Dreamweaver and her bumbling sidekick, you think you can stop me? Dreamweaver's eyes narrowed, her hands instinctively weaving silver threads into the air. I don't think I can stop you, she said firmly. I will stop you. The figure chuckled, its voice dark and mocking. You've already failed. This city belongs to me now. Its people are too far gone. They will never sleep again. Not until I've fed on their restless energy and grown stronger. Dozer stepped forward, attempting to appear braver than he felt. Not if I've got anything to say about it, he said, fumbling for another gadget. And trust me, I've got a lot of things to say about it. Dreamweaver gave him a small, amused glance before turning her attention back to the figure. Insomniac, she called, her voice ringing through the hall. You won't feed on this city any longer. It's time for you to face the truth. Insomniac's form shifted, swirling like smoke, but his eyes glowed with malevolent amusement. The truth? You think you can break my hold over them with your sweet words and silver threads? Your powers are nothing compared to the hunger I've created. The longer they suffer, the stronger I grow. No, Dreamweaver said, her voice hardening. You're wrong. People don't need to suffer to feel alive. They need rest, they need peace, and that's what I'm going to give them. Dozer took a deep breath, gripping his remaining gadgets tightly. You hear that? She's going to give them sleep, and you're going to stop messing with their rest. The figure's eyes flashed with rage. You think you can undo what I've done? Dreamweaver stepped forward, her energy intensifying as she wove an intricate web of light. Yes, I can, because this city's heart beats with the promise of a peaceful sleep, and I won't let you destroy that. The final battle was about to begin. The battle of rest and shadows. The air crackled with tension as Dreamweaver stepped forward, her glowing silver threads swirling around her like a protective aura. Insomniac's dark presence filled the room, thick and suffocating, his form shifting and distorting as if made of smoke and nightmares. You're wasting your time, Insomniac's voice reverberated through the chamber, a deep, haunting growl that seemed to echo from every corner. You cannot defeat me. I am the master of all that keeps people awake, their fears, their worries. I am the darkness beneath their eyelids. They will never escape me. Dreamweaver's hands glowed brighter as she focused, weaving the threads with a steady rhythm, her every movement calculated. You think you control the darkness? She said, her voice calm but resolute. I don't fear the darkness. I create the light to guide people through it. With a sudden flick of her wrist, she released a burst of shimmering threads toward Insomniac. The threads twisted through the air, a beautiful silver web designed to counter the oppressive shadows. For a moment, the dark mist seemed to hesitate, faltering as Dreamweaver's light pushed it back. But Insomniac roared, the shadows wrapping tighter around him, and the fog in the room grew even thicker. His eyes burned with fury. "Foolish little hero," he hissed. "You cannot stop what's already inside them." The fear, the pain, the restless nights, they belong to me now. The ground beneath Dreamweaver's feet began to tremble, and she staggered, feeling the oppressive weight of Insomniac's power pushing down on her. "I won't let you do this," she whispered fiercely. At that moment, Dozer stepped forward, his hands shaking but determined. "Hey, you want to mess with people's sleep? You've got to go through me." He fumbled with a gadget, pulling out what looked like a miniature amplifier. "This little beauty, the sleepwave amplifier, should give you a nice shock to the system," Dozer shouted, and before Dreamweaver could warn him, he hit the activation button. The sleepwave amplifier emitted a loud hum, and suddenly a wave of peaceful energy surged through the room. The mist around Insomniac wavered, and for a brief moment, the shadows seemed to recoil. Dreamweaver's heart raced, feeling the strength of the wave. Could it work? Insomniac's form flickered violently, his body spasming as the wave pushed against him. "What is this?" he shrieked, his voice a mix of confusion and rage. "No, this can't be! Keep it up, Dozer!" Dreamweaver shouted, her focus now split between the battle and the energy surging within her. "That's it! Push him back!" Dozer grinned, though his hands were trembling with the effort of maintaining the pulse of energy. "Just trying to be helpful," he said, sweat dripping down his face. Dreamweaver gathered her strength, using the brief moment of advantage to weave a final, intricate thread that arced toward Insomniac. The silver strands wrapped around the dark figure, glowing brighter as they made contact with him. The shadows howled in protest, but the light continued to grow, pressing in on Insomniac's dark form. "You can't keep me down forever, Dreamweaver," Insomniac spat, but his voice was now tinged with desperation. "Even if you manage to silence the city for now, I'll return. Sleep and rest are fleeting, and so is peace. No one can escape me." Dreamweaver's threads tightened, and she locked eyes with the swirling figure of Insomniac. "But they can rest for now. I'll make sure of that. You may return, but we'll always be ready for you." The light from her threads intensified until it engulfed Insomniac entirely, the shadows recoiling in fear. With a final scream, the dark figure shattered like glass, dissolving into wisps of smoke that faded into the air. For a long moment, the room was silent. Dozer let out a shaky breath and collapsed to the ground, the sleepwave amplifier slipping from his hands. "Did we do it? Is he gone?" Dreamweaver stood in the center of the room, her glowing threads dimming as she took in the quiet, the weight of the battle still lingering. "For now," she said softly, "we've pushed him back, but this fight is far from over." She walked toward the center of the room, where the throne sat empty, its dark power gone but still radiating an eerie chill. Insomniac may be gone, but his influence remains. People still struggle with sleep, with peace. It's not over. Dozer sat up, brushing the dust off his pants. "So, what now? We go to a spa for a nap?" Dreamweaver smiled, the first real smile Dozer had seen from her in a while. "We don't give up. We help people sleep again. We fight for their peace, their dreams. That's our mission." Dozer stood, a glint of determination in his eyes. "Mission? Sounds good to me. I'm in." Dreamweaver turned, looking out at the darkened streets beyond the town hall. "Let's make sure they don't have to fight this battle alone." As they left the town hall behind, the silence of the city felt different. It wasn't the eerie quiet of an impending storm, but the calm before a new dawn. Dreamweaver and Dozer knew their work had only just begun. The Dreamer's Awakening. The city of Noctura had not fully returned to peace, but there was a notable shift in the air. The oppressive weight of Insomniac's presence had lifted, but Dreamweaver could still feel the remnants of his power clinging to the edges of the city. People were beginning to sleep again, but something was still off. Dreamweaver and Dozer walked through the streets, their footsteps quieter than before, as if the city was holding its breath. The morning light peered hesitantly through the clouds, casting soft rays on the buildings and streets. But the peace felt fragile, like a dream just out of reach. "There's something not right," Dreamweaver murmured, her gaze scanning the surroundings. "The city's recovering, yes, but it's not fully healed. Insomniac's influence may have been defeated, but something's still holding them back." Dozer scratched his head. "So, what? We need a few more sleepwave amplifiers to get everyone back to normal." "No," Dreamweaver said, shaking her head. "The people of Noctura need more than gadgets. They need to believe they can rest. They need to trust that their sleep can be peaceful again." They came upon a quiet square where a few people were gathered, sitting on benches or walking aimlessly. Their faces were weary, their eyes hollow. Even though they were awake, they seemed stuck in a haze, as though part of them were still trapped in a restless dream. One woman, sitting alone on a bench, caught Dreamweaver's attention. Her eyes were wide open, but they seemed distant, unfocused. Dreamweaver's heart tightened. She had seen this before. People who were stuck, unable to truly wake from the nightmare. She approached the woman gently, kneeling in front of her. "Are you all right?" Dreamweaver asked softly. The woman blinked, as if seeing Dreamweaver for the first time. "I don't know," she said in a dazed voice. "I haven't been able to sleep properly for weeks. It's like my mind never stops, even when I close my eyes." Dreamweaver placed a hand on her shoulder, her presence calm and steady. "That's not your fault, but I think you can find peace again. You just need to trust that rest is possible." The woman looked up at Dreamweaver, her gaze full of uncertainty. "But what if it never comes? What if I can't get back to sleep?" Dreamweaver smiled softly. "Rest isn't something that's gone forever. It's always there, waiting for you to rediscover it. Sleep isn't a punishment, it's a gift." Behind her, Dozer fidgeted with one of his gadgets, muttering, "You sure she doesn't need a calm bomb?" Dreamweaver shot him a quick, knowing look. "No, she needs encouragement, not a quick fix." Turning back to the woman, Dreamweaver continued, "The first step is to believe that sleep can be kind. We've all been through something difficult, but now we need to find our way back to peace." The woman's expression softened. For the first time in what felt like ages, a flicker of hope appeared in her eyes. "I want to believe that. I just don't know how." Dreamweaver took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "The key is to let go. Let go of the worry, the fear, the thoughts that race. It's about accepting that you deserve to rest without guilt or anxiety." Dozer watched Dreamweaver's approach with a sense of awe, wondering if his own efforts could be so gentle and meaningful. He felt a tug in his chest, a realization that the work they were doing was about more than defeating Insomniac. They were healing people, one person at a time. The woman nodded slowly, still uncertain but clearly moved. I'll try to let go." Dreamweaver smiled, rising to her feet. "That's all you can do. The rest will come in time." As they walked away, Dozer whispered to Dreamweaver, "You really think that'll work? Just letting go?" Dreamweaver nodded, her gaze distant as she looked at the peaceful scene before them. "It has to. Rest isn't just about sleep. It's about trusting yourself enough to relax. It's about knowing that the world will still be there when you wake up." Dozer thought about this for a moment, glancing back at the woman on the bench. He had seen many battles in his time, fought enemies, solved puzzles, helped save the day, but he had never faced something like this, something so quiet, yet so deeply needed. "We've got a long way to go, haven't we?" Dozer asked, almost to himself. Dreamweaver looked up at him, a gentle smile on her face. "Yes, but every step brings us closer. We can't rush this. People have to find their own peace." As they continued down the street, Dreamweaver's mind raced. Insomniac was gone for now, but the true battle was just beginning. To truly restore the people of Noctura, she needed to do more than stop nightmares. She had to help them reclaim the ability to rest, to relax, to trust in sleep again. There was still work to be done, but for the first time in a long while, Dreamweaver felt a spark of hope. The Gathering of Dreamers. The day had ended in Noctura, and the city's skyline was bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. Dreamweaver stood at the city's edge, gazing out at the horizon. She could feel the pull of the night, the time when people were supposed to rest and heal, when dreams should be filled with peace. Yet, despite the progress made, the city still struggled. The weight of the nightmares lingered like a shadow. "It's still not enough," Dreamweaver whispered to herself, her fingers brushing the fabric of her cape. "I've helped individuals, but I haven't restored the city's heart. People are still afraid to sleep. They don't know how to trust it again." Beside her, Dozer sat on a bench, idly adjusting one of his gadgets. "What's the plan, boss?" he asked, his voice light but tinged with concern. "I mean, we've defeated Insomniac and people are sleeping again. Sort of. What else is there?" Dreamweaver took a deep breath, her mind swirling with possibilities. The city needs more than just sleep. It needs the strength to believe in dreams again. We're not just fighting nightmares anymore, we're fighting a deep-rooted fear of rest. People have forgotten what peaceful sleep feels like. Just as she spoke, a strange sensation swept through her, like a whisper on the wind. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it carried a message. "You're not alone." Dreamweaver turned toward Dozer, her expression thoughtful. "I think I know what we need to do. We need to gather the dreamers, the ones who can help people sleep, the ones who still remember the power of peaceful rest. Together, we can remind the city how to trust in sleep again." Dozer perked up at the mention of dreamers. "Wait, you mean like a group? A team? With other heroes who can dream and stuff?" Dreamweaver nodded. "Exactly. The dreamers are individuals with the ability to influence dreams in unique ways. Each of them can bring something different to the table. Together, they can help heal Noctura. Not just from the nightmares, but from the fear of sleep itself." The following evening, Dreamweaver and Dozer traveled to the dreamers' secret hideout, hidden deep within the heart of the city. It was a place known only to those who truly understood the magic of dreams, a forgotten library of ancient knowledge, hidden from the world by layers of forgotten spells. As they arrived, Dreamweaver placed her hand on the heavy stone door. The lock clicked open with a soft groan, revealing a grand chamber filled with glowing bookshelves, each one filled with the knowledge of dreams and slumber. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and lavender, a soothing fragrance that invited relaxation. Inside, the dreamers were already gathered, their faces glowing with anticipation. They had heard the call, and now they were ready to help. Dreamweaver's heart swelled with hope as she addressed the group. "Thank you all for coming. Noctura needs you. Together, we can help this city rediscover peaceful rest. We've defeated Insomniac, but the real work begins now. We must teach the people of Noctura how to trust sleep again, how to release their fear of the dark." The dreamers, each with their unique abilities and energy, nodded in agreement. There was Aurora, a dreamer with the power to weave peaceful dreams with a simple touch. Her presence alone was enough to calm even the most troubled minds. Then there was Somnus, a stoic dreamer who could enter the deepest of sleep states and pull others into restful slumber. His ability to create dreamscapes was unrivaled, painting landscapes of serenity with every sleep cycle. And finally there was Nyx, the quietest but most powerful of them all. Her gift was the ability to erase nightmares, to shift the dark into light with a thought. She was the final key they needed to bring balance back to Noctura. "I'm glad you're all here," Dreamweaver said, her voice filled with gratitude. "Each of you has something that will help us restore the peace Noctura once knew. But we must also teach the people to believe again. We can't do this alone. We need their trust. Aurora stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with quiet confidence. We'll help them remember the beauty of dreams, and we'll remind them that sleep is not their enemy. Somnus gave a slow nod, his deep voice rumbling through the room. We will guide them back to rest, one person at a time. Nyx's eyes narrowed slightly, a soft, mysterious smile playing on her lips. And we'll rid Noctura of the last remnants of fear. Dreamweaver nodded in agreement. We start tomorrow, but tonight we rest. Tomorrow we begin our work. The dreamers gathered together, and for the first time in a long while, Dreamweaver felt a deep sense of peace wash over her. There was still much to be done, but with the dreamers by her side, she felt confident they could restore balance. The city of Noctura had a long road ahead, but it was a road she would walk with hope, and with a team that would help her carry the weight. The Dreamweaver's Song. The moon hung high over Noctura, casting a silvery glow over the city. Dreamweaver stood atop the Dreamer's hideout, gazing out at the sleeping city below. The streets were quiet, the buildings bathed in the soft light of the moon. Yet, despite the tranquility, she felt a restlessness within her, a yearning to do more, to reach deeper into the hearts of the people. Beside her, Dozer adjusted one of his gadgets, his face illuminated by the soft glow of its screen. "What's on your mind, boss?" he asked, sensing her unease. Dreamweaver sighed, her breath visible in the cool night air. "I feel like we're missing something. We've gathered the dreamers, we've helped individuals, but the city as a whole still feels distant. People are still afraid to sleep, to dream." Dozer nodded thoughtfully. "So what do you think we should do?" Dreamweaver turned to face him, her eyes filled with determination. "We need to reach them through their hearts. We need to remind them of the beauty and peace that sleep can bring. We need to sing them back to rest." "Sing?" Dozer raised an eyebrow. "You mean like a lullaby?" "Exactly," Dreamweaver replied. "A song that speaks to their souls, that reminds them of the comfort and safety of sleep, a melody that can heal their fears and guide them back to peaceful dreams." Dozer chuckled softly. "Well, I can't carry a tune to save my life, but I know someone who can." The next evening, Dreamweaver and Dozer stood in the center of Noctura, surrounded by the dreamers. Aurora stepped forward, her presence commanding yet gentle. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and began to sing. Her voice was pure and clear, a melody that seemed to resonate with the very essence of the city. As she sang, the streets began to glow softly, the buildings shimmering with a warm light. People emerged from their homes, drawn by the soothing sound. They gathered around, their faces softening, their eyes closing as they listened. The song wove through the city, wrapping around each person, easing their fears and filling them with a sense of peace. The restless energy that had plagued Noctura began to dissipate, replaced by a calm serenity. Dreamweaver watched as the people of Noctura embraced the song, their hearts opening to the possibility of restful sleep. She felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of fulfillment. This was the healing they needed, a reminder of the beauty and peace that sleep could bring. As Aurora's song reached its crescendo, Dreamweaver joined in, her voice blending with Aurora's in a harmonious duet. Together, they sang of dreams and rest, of peace and healing. The city responded, the lights glowing brighter, the air lighter. When the song ended, a profound silence settled over Noctura. The people stood still, their faces serene, their hearts at peace. Dreamweaver smiled, knowing that they had taken a significant step toward healing. "Thank you," she whispered to Aurora. Aurora smiled back, her eyes filled with understanding. "We did it together." Dozer clapped his hands, breaking the silence. "Well, that was something else. I think Noctura's finally getting the rest it deserves." Dreamweaver nodded, her heart full. "Yes, but this is just the beginning. We have to keep reminding them, keep singing the song of peace and rest. Only then will Noctura truly heal." As the dreamers gathered together, the city of Noctura slept peacefully beneath the stars, its heart beating in harmony with the song of dreams. The dreamers rest. As the last notes of the Dreamweaver's song echoed softly through the streets of Noctura, a peaceful stillness settled over the city. The people of Noctura, now fully embraced by the melody of rest, felt their worries and fears slip away, replaced by the gentle pull of sleep. Dreamweaver stood in the center, her heart light with the knowledge that they had brought peace to a city that had long forgotten how to rest. The moon cast its gentle glow over the city, and Dreamweaver felt the weight of the day slowly lift from her shoulders. With the dreamers by her side, she knew that Noctura would continue to heal, one peaceful dream at a time. And now, it was time for her too to rest. Dreamweaver closed her eyes and let herself be swept into the gentle embrace of sleep, knowing that the work she and her friends had done would live on in the dreams of Noctura's people. Now, as you close your eyes and feel the warmth of your blankets, let the soothing sounds of the Dreamweaver's song guide you into your own peaceful rest. Let the melody wash away your worries, just as it did for Noctura. Allow yourself to drift, slowly and gently, into the calm embrace of sleep. And if you ever want another story, just like and comment, and visit the channel for more peaceful journeys. For now, though, close your eyes, let the dreams come, and rest easy. You are safe. You are at peace. Good night and sweet dreams.